So the House of the Dragon, the first episode came out yesterday. I don't know when this, like a week ago from when this podcast comes out.
Yeah, more or less.
So,
it was yesterday for us.
Yep. And I almost said first time in my life, but for the first time in a while since Obi-Wan, I've just, like, Obi-Wan, the series kind of ruined me when it comes to, like,
faith in spin-offs.
just being, like, all into the lore of these different shows. Because I used to be like Game of Thrones. I used to know all the houses, all the different factions, so I could make like different theories of what was going to happen. I've always been like that, even also with Marvel. But Obi-Wan ruined me. It just took my heart and threw it into a bin. Horrible. I don't want to talk about it, so I'm gonna move on from that.
Okay.
But so I went into this episode with no expectations at all, and ladies and gentlemen, it was a banger. It was a
It's
series.
a certified thumbs up from the TriHards podcast, minus Sin, who's never watched it.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to like spoil anything here, but even from the first shot, you know, when it kind of like when they fly on the dragon, that's not a spoiler. It's like the first minute.
No, it's in the if it's in the trailer, it's not a spoiler as far as
I got goosebumps, man. The music in that.
Yeah, because they got Ramin Djawadi back.
Yeah, he's back. Oh, I love that, and it just felt like prime. It felt like prime Game of Thrones storytelling with the budget of the later seasons is what it felt like. Like nothing, they're not holding back anything, and I think also because I'm not watching it in a way where I'm like where I have expectations. Like in the last season of Game of Thrones, I remember like watching each episode being like critical and stuff, and rewatching it and being like, why did they do this? They only have this amount of time. But now I'm just like sitting there enjoying it, and it was a really good experience. In
a way, it's better just because like people didn't like season 8 so much that this has a better start in a way. Like there's lower expectations for it, which is, you could argue, is a bad thing, because like people are like, oh, I'm not as interested in Game of Thrones or anything like that. But the fact that that was the case made it like almost like season 1 of Game of Thrones again, where no one really cared and they had to prove themselves, and then they did. And well, it's only been one episode, it could go all downhill from it. You never know. But so far,
yeah, it's a good. It's a good foundation. It introduced characters really well, and a lot of them, and there's already tension between some of them, and it was just the actors as well. Even though I think the girl who plays what's her name, Rhaenyra Targaryen.
Rhaenyra, yeah.
I think another actor is gonna play her like later on, like an adult version. I think I read that.
Are they doing a time jump? Are they?
Yeah. Because they're trying to cover the whole like 30-year war or whatever it's called.
I mean, it might be good, but it depends how long. Because like, it's a shame if that's going to be like season 2, because I like the actress so far, and I don't want to just like rush it and then be like, well, we're done with her now. But it could be good depending on who the actor is, I guess, for the next one. But it's a shame to like miss out on her, because she seems pretty good so far. Also, I was pleasantly surprised by Matt Smith. Now, I know Matt Smith is a good actor, and I watched him in Doctor Who, and I like him in Doctor Who, but something about just, like, seeing him with the wig and things, it just made me, like, in the trailers, I was just like, this looks...
Yeah, the trailers...
I'll give him a chance, but it looks really weird.
Yeah, I mean, seeing all the people in the trailers with the white hair without any, like, context, it seemed like, oh, they're a bunch of, like, weird-looking Targaryens, but once you see them actually interact with each other, and it
becomes more normal when you actually see them in the world with other white-haired people and everything. When you just see them, like, because Daenerys is only the one Targaryen apart from her brother, which, you know, spoilers. Yeah, that happened. So she's like the only one there for the entire show. So she stands out, obviously, because of the hair and all the and like the plaiding, whatever you call it when you tie the hair up. Braiding, sorry.
Oh, braiding.
Yeah, sorry. But when you're seeing like a bunch of people like that, they all look like they're wearing cosplay, like they're just trying to dress like Daenerys or something. But then when they're actually in the show properly, in the context of the world, and like you see other people like that, and you know it's just a norm now, you adjust to it, and you're like, okay, it's not as weird now. Matt Smith still looks kind of weird, but maybe that's just because I watched him in Doctor Who with like his normal hair so much, and he has a London accent as well, which is clearly not trying to do that much different in the show. He sounded really good when he was speaking like Valyrian. Yeah. And then after, I mean, it doesn't sound bad. He sounds fine, but I can't help being a Brit being like, Well, you mean it sounds like it's from London.
Speaking of
Kinda takes you out a
Valyrian,
bit.
it was cool to hear the difference between like those people at that time. They grew up with Valyrian, had that Valyrian accent, while Daenerys in the Game of Thrones series had like a British accent, while she was like Dracarys, you know, while this chick right now in the last one was Dracarys or something like that.
To be
it just
fair,
sounded
yeah,
a lot.
good.
Yeah, it sounded a lot cooler. But,
and we're not going to go into any spoilers in this, so if you haven't watched it yet, don't worry, unless we've said something already that's spoiled anything big for you.
Really have.
I would give it a good thumbs up because, as well, they don't seem like they're trying too hard. Well, there's something that I was sort of worried about, you know, because Game of Thrones built up its kind of like gore and violence and things, and there was a lot of violence and gore in this.
Yeah, that one scene, bro.
But it wasn't like they're like just doing it to make it violent.
Yeah.
It seemed like it worked in the context of like what they were showing, and they didn't like stay on the shots for too long and just be like, look at it. Like it was just kind of there and move on as if it was part of the story, which is good. I don't think they're trying to like one that I don't know if you haven't watched it, The Boys, have you, Kim?
Not yet. I don't know.
But one of the things that is really good about The Boys is that kind of like violence thing. Like they're not holding back; they will do things. But in some cases, in the later season, it feels like a little bit like they're trying to remind you that they are gory just by making it gory. Well, Jesus sin. We'll leave that in, by the way.
People that don't, or they can see it, right?
Yeah, they can see it.
I was so damn. Sid is so bored of this talk.
He's just gonna start streaming.
Actually, on that point, Sin, if you're listening to this and you're like, is there ever gonna be a time where I'm gonna get into the Song of Ice and Fire universe? This might be it, because they made a series in a way that it suits like newcomers. It's not like you have to have watched all the previous series to see this, right? It's a prequel.
It almost doesn't even matter. There's like one line at the end which like hits to the people that have watched it.
Yeah, and it's more like a wow factor, like if you know it. And it's also like you just recognize some houses, some ancestors, and you're like, oh, look at that Baratheon, that's cool. But other than that, I think it's a really good watch for newcomers.